low sulfur diesel. And there's a lot of things being done to cut back on the amount of carbon going into the atmosphere and nitrous oxide and other gases there. So any amount any person does helps in the environment. And the more gas you save, the less dependency there is on the foreign countries, on foreign oil. So you're helping your economy. Anytime you find a product that's actually made in the U.S. by an American company, you're helping your economy as well, because you create American jobs, which helps you in return.
Well, I expensive of the charging. How expensive is the installation of the charging station?
Pardon?
I said about how expensive is the installation of the charging station?
I don't know. SFX is one of the companies that handles an actual 240 volts charging station that can be put in your house. But the car already comes with a 110 volt charger that you just plug into the car, and then the other end plugs into your regular home outlet. For that, you just have to make sure you have the right type of wiring. If you have knob and tube wiring, you may have to look at a difference there. At the very least, you'd have to run a dedicated line from your fuse box to be able to charge that. But other than that, the 240 volt, you have to get with a licensed electrician, and you have to get the 240 volt charging station installed to be able to use it and charge it for 4 hours instead of 8.
We install the stations professionally, and it can go anywhere from 2,000 to 10,000 for a station, depending on what features it has. The simplest indoor stations are probably sell for around $1,200, and then you've got your installation costs. And then you have some that are networked and they actually communicate with a web-based network where you can see what's happening on that charger, reserve it, and actually it'll email you when your car is charged. There's a lot of features that you can add to it and that are really made for when it becomes more like a gas station, and you walk up to it and you swipe the card and it charges your account. So what's nice right now, I don't know if I've walked in just a second late, but Louisiana actually has a tax credit right now for 50%. They'll pay for the system when you install a charging station right now. And they're called EVSEs, electric vehicle service equipment, technically. And so when you install one, you actually get a 50% refundable tax credit on the system.
Does that mean that the $1,200 station is $600 after the rebate?
Don't say, $1,200, once you install it, say it's $2,000, you install it, you pay for that. Next year when you file your credit, your taxes, you claim that credit and they can send you $1,000 back.
Now, are you talking particularly about the solar stations?
It's actually the credit itself is for converting a vehicle to alternative fuel. Okay. Louisiana actually has a tax credit for that, and they'll pay up to, I believe, 50% of the cost of converting a vehicle. And if it's a new vehicle, like in the case of Volts, there's a federal credit, and there's also a tax credit for the state that applies to that, up to 10%, I believe, of the vehicle cost if it's new. $3,000, I think it caps out at. And so, and part of that credit is the infrastructure too. So you're talking natural gas, propane, electric, all of this is eligible for this tax credit. The infrastructure, like a charger, is a 50% credit.
If it happens to be a solar charging station, would it also qualify for the state renewable energy tax credit and the federal?
Want to separate them a little bit. I wouldn't try to stick it all into that nice solar credit, but your EV part would be eligible for the 50, and then your solar would be eligible for the 80% state credits, federal and state credits.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering if there was a way to actually make money.
It should be that way.
Yeah.
And I just want to add that we hired Jeff's company, Solar Alternatives, to install our charging station at our Fisker dealership, and it cost about $2,100. I mean, we had to buy a unit, and they did it in like a day. I mean, it was super easy and very professional, and went really well.
Where's your dealership?
It's on Veterans.
Okay, so
It's Bergeron, and
so folks can come by and check it out.
Yeah.
Selling for both of it?
No, we're selling a car called the Fisker Karma.
Fisker Karma with the K,
With a K, yeah.
K-A-R-M-A?
Just like Karma, yeah,
Karma.
exactly.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I mean,
How much is it?
it's $110,000, It's the first luxury hybrid, and it's quite a good performer electrically, like the Volt is. It's got about a 40 to 50 mile pure electric range, and we have a range extending motor that powers a generator like the Volt. They're very, very similar, the two cars, powertrain wise.
How is it generated?
Exactly.
The generator power.
The gasoline motor powers the generator,
Which operates the electric motor.
but it doesn't have a typical transmission you would have in a gasoline powered or solely gasoline powered car.
Right. I was thinking of the train. What's that? CXS. Say they can get 500 miles or 5 gallons.
It's like a
of gas.
locomotive kind of concept.
Yeah, that's the best way.
Yeah.
The Fisk's a pretty amazing car. The look is somewhere between a Jaguar and a Maserati.
Right, yeah, that comes with the brand is a brand that they're trying to start to finish have a sustainable company. So I was telling some people earlier that the plant where it's made in Finland is a closed loop plant as best as they can, where everything they're going to waste they try and reproduce into energy, where they combust it and they sequester those emissions. And the animal skins that they do use, the leather is sourced from a farm that the animals are treated by the 5 principles of humanity. They also offer a eco chic interior, which is made from industrial compounds, and it's like an eco suede. It's just really, there's so many things. There's a solar panel on the roof of the car, so it adds to the value, but it's possible that it could be more mass marketed if they come with a lease program. So just for my generation and my family to get into the electric vehicle business was something that I wanted to be a part of, and I thank all you guys for putting this on. I think it's great that you're helping, make people aware of what's out there, the products that are out there and that are affordable and also achievable. That they can look forward to buying a car someday, because they are a bit pricey. Yeah. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Just curious, will we have an opportunity to look inside of the vault?
Absolutely. Absolutely. No problem.
I just have a question. Why do you all think that there's not a bigger push from us, community people to buy into these electric cars? What do you think is preventing us from picking them up?
Well, that's what I was kind of trying to get at with my original, when I was kind of started talking about numbers a little bit.
Yeah.
So I was saying, if it costs twice as much as the Malibu for a Volt, right? But the mileage is about 90 miles per gallon as opposed to 30 miles per gallon. To everyone here as a consumer, does that seem like a worthwhile investment? And so I guess I would answer your question with the question, but maybe these guys have another answer.
I was thinking of a movie called Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. Tradition. The traditional mindset is that gas and number of cylinders equals power. And power is speed, and speed is efficiency. The quicker you can get there, the better it is, no matter what the cost. But that's starting to change now, as we're paying not 16 cents a gallon, like I remember as a child, but $3.45 and looking at $5, $6, $7 gallons. $5, $6, $7 a gallon. In Norway, they're paying $9.96 a gallon, and they produce oil. So as the cost of oil goes up, the cost of gas therefore also goes up, and the cost of everything else, and we start to look at alternatives and say now it's affordable and we're thinking about getting it, and then start wondering, well, what can we do? Even if we can't afford an electric vehicle, what can we do with a gas vehicle to get better gas mileage? I'm going to the Volt for a second. Jeff mentioned about how the charging station can let you know when it's charged. But with the Volt, you have myvolt.com. You can look at it on your computer, or you can use your iPhone, your Android, and download different apps. There's a couple of apps out there. You can communicate with your car. You stay connected. You know when it's charging, what the charging status is, tire pressure, etc. So there's a lot of ways to be connected with it. And, you know, you can even, of course, lock and unlock it.
Lock it.
And you get
start
3
it
years
up.
of OnStar directions and connections with it. The one I have out there already has a nav in it, and it has leather, so it's a little more than the one with cloth without nav. But they all have the 7-inch touchscreen. Yes, somebody else has a question?
I want to take a little bit of a different angle on that answer. I think that it's mostly a lack of education and also a lack of credit. I mean, we're talking $45,000 for a vehicle. You know, most people that are looking for vehicles in the city of New Orleans are not trying to pay $45,000. So at the end of the day, I mean, if once we get to a point where there is enough demand to drive down the cost of production, I think we'll see more vehicles move. You know, when you can go to a dealership and see an inefficient vehicle, used one, for instance, for $3,500 on the same car lot as a $45,000 electric vehicle, there's probably a 90% chance someone in New Orleans is going to lean towards the $3,500 vehicle.
So Tillman, you're telling me that basically the payback's too long on my question.
Not only is the payback too long, but most folks, I'm just, you know, trying to be a little realistic here about the dynamic of the social environment that we live in, the economic environment that we live in. If someone is buying a first vehicle so that they can get from home to work every day, they're probably not going to spend $45,000. And it doesn't even matter how high the cost of gas is. They'd rather take the bus than pay $45,000 for a car. And so there are ways, though, that America can begin to have some dialogue about how to drastically drive down the cost of production. And I think that starts to lead to conversations about emission standards, for instance. Telling these companies that now realize that they have the capacity to build energy efficient, fuel efficient vehicles, that they have to build efficient fuel vehicles. And not only do they have to make them efficient, they have to make them super efficient. As seen on the film here, it's possible. They can do it. They just don't want to. Most of the companies that are in the business of building cars are also, by chance, in the business of making money. And so they are going to do the bare minimum that they can do in order to sell a vehicle. They're not going to go above and beyond to create a level of efficiency that would allow consumers to be able to afford the day-to-day. They're going to do the bare minimum that they think can be done in order to move that car. And so with renewable energy standards, like places like Spain, for instance, are imposing, Germany is imposing renewable energy standards. You can't even build a house, for instance, in Spain without having at least a solar water heater. When we start having standards like that, when we start having standards like, for instance, solar standards, renewable energy standards that would require solar, then the battery technology becomes more affordable because companies that make batteries can sell more of them, and that drives down the cost. It's the whole supply and demand thing.
Yeah. Yes.
Cost-wise, I think the guys named the additive film is significantly cheaper just to have an old car retrofitted to an electric car or work out the design.
I have no idea, but well, go ahead.
I'd say that it probably is not going to be a lot cheaper. I don't know exactly what it would be, but the thing is this, is that when you look at cars like the Bolt and others like that, they're engineered to work with that specific system. I mean, the Bolt has low resistance rolling tires. The frame and everything else, everything in that vehicle is engineered to have the least amount of weight, the highest amount of strength. and safety features as well. There are safety features in these cars we didn't have 20 years ago. 20 years